Hollow Knight is a Metroidvania that succeeds time and time again with each playthrough. The combat is challenging, yet rewarding. The animation is incredibly done. The story is cryptic, entrancing, and just downright cool. Pulling players in left and right, trying to figure out every single bit of lore there is about this fallen world. However, I do think that what Hollow Knight thrives in is its tone and atmosphere. Wandering around dim ruins of Hollow Nest, uncovering secrets and soulless bugs, walking in a deep nest for the first time and realizing, oh shit, I can barely see 3 feet in front of me. The constant sizzling of the fungal wastes, praying that you land every single jump. All of these scenarios submerge you into each and every part of Hollow Knight's ecosystem. Because for a lack of a better term, it's anxiety-inducing. The world, the dreary life, the lack of life thereof, it makes me anxious. And to be honest, I love it. There's something special about wandering around the City of Tears, having to watch every single room, and constantly being at the edge of my seat. There's a thrill forcing me to be there at each session I play. The funny thing is, none of this would be possible without the soundtrack of the game. Picture this. You're fighting the Soul Master. No sound, just the clanging of swords on shell. Sure, the boss fight is fun and difficult, but there's not much emotion conveyed by just looking at the screen and clicking. Now, with the music, the intensity of the music really says, okay, yeah, this fight, kind of a big deal. Obviously, there's so many tracks in the score of Hollow Knight, and we're not going to be able to cover all of them in one video, so we're going to break this up into sections. Atmosphere, shit's happening, player association, and sounds/sound effects. Music in terms of atmosphere is there to give you even more of an insight on the tone or feel of a video game, or a section of what a video game is. Take any save area in a video game, for example, especially in Hollow Knight. Not only does the calmness of the area around you just scream, this is a safe space to be, but the music, that's what gets me. When you enter the resting spot, sit down on that metal bench, something overtakes you to stop and think for a while, to sort of collect your thoughts of the journey you've made so far, and the journey that you will make. Hence the name Reflection for this track. The opposite can be said for when entering the Soul Sanctum. The fast-paced piano and organ give a sinister feel to this once hall of scholars who were in search of immortality. It really keeps you on your toes in hopes that your soul doesn't become a victim of sacrifice to their cause as well. Meanwhile, in the fungal wastes, there's an adventurous, almost playful melody and bass, leading the player to feel submerged in a sense of exploration through the tunnels of fungi, and jumping over steaming ponds of acid. There's also an eerie tone through the lack of any kind of melody at all. When you enter the Deep Nest, the sheer cries of the violin mixed with the occasional background reverb-made synth creates an anxious environment to walk through, leaving the player to feel utterly alone in this dark and dreary place. All of these are really here just to make you feel more in tune with the character. These ecosystems are real, this world is real, and you are feeling what it is feeling. You feel the problem of Hollow Nest. You walk through and you can deem a place is dangerous or not dangerous just by the music. For example, Deep Nest. The lack of melody makes it feel sinister. Whereas when you go into the City of Tears, you are met with this awe-inspiring melody that gives you the sheer size of the city. All of these are meant to make you feel the world around you, and just how alive it actually is. Shit's Happening is essentially the end-all be-all for when something is about to go down. You just entered the ring, and at the other corner is the Gruzmother. You gotta get some amped music so you can beat the shit out of her. You gonna try and challenge the Mantis Lords to fight to the death? Well, then you gotta get some sick-ass organ in the background telling you to move it or lose it. All of these tie in to where you are and specifically what is going on during your time playing. Going back to what I said before with the Soul Master, the battle music during that fight says a lot about what the meaning of the battle actually is. You are fighting a seemingly immortal being who can teleport and fly and do all of these ungodly things, and the music drives the player's emotion to feel the need to finally put an end to this Soul Master. Many tracks that fall under this category spike your heart rate to get your adrenaline pumping for a specific fight. This is done to submerge you even further into the world of Hollow Knight and into specifically Hollow Nest, as well as to make you feel more as if you are this unnamed fighter and not just a sprite on the screen controlled by a keyboard or controller. These songs are meant to suck you in even farther into a fight or into a specific event in the game in order to make the experience more lively, more fun. Player Association. This section describes, wouldn't you have guessed, certain cues and transitions through and in between whatever music is playing in the game. Take the low health noise from many Zelda games. That's where it's telling you, oh yeah,
I might die.
I might die.
Oh, I might die.
It also encapsulates players' recognition of certain things that happened before, happening to the current task at hand. Hollow Knight excels with this to a degree that has been seen in video games quite a bit, actually. This reoccurring theme, if you will, is called a leitmotif. Essentially what a leitmotif is
melodic passage or phrase, especially in Wagnerian opera, associated with a specific character.
For a simple example, when you first enter the City of Tears, you're gently greeted with some piano and harp. And then when you leave and venture into the actual city, that's when the scale of it hits you, by opening up the track to a more orchestral feel on top of the original track, more widespread. Another great example of this is the first initial town when you enter the game, Dirtmouth. The soft, melancholic melody of the violin can be connected to further tracks in the game, such as Green Path. The melody of the violin is recontextualized once the bass line is changed and the harp is put into this stack of fifth notes, repeating itself into something called a ostinato figure. I'm not really sure what it is, but it's actually played in the City of Tears track, too. The piano underneath the vocals is also in a stack of fifth, repeating itself in an ostinato figure. The way Christopher Larkin sets this up makes the world of Hollow Knight feel more connected. Every piece of Hollowness has a piece of history inside of it, which can not only be seen through the amazing art style of this melancholic scenery, but also the ecosystem, which has been created exceptionally through the use of these leitmotifs, as well as the atmospheric lineup of tracks. Now, I can't really cover every single example of this from Hollow Knight, but whether it's intentional or unintentional, the player creates this connection to each of the sections in Hollow Knight because of this music and because of these leitmotifs. To the history, the battles, everything becomes interlinked in the mind of the player, thus giving this association which each setting you enter to its respective track and to previous settings. Okay, this one is pretty self-explanatory. When you collect a power-up in Mario, or when you gain a heart canister in Legend of Zelda, all of these are fairly simple noises, but sounds and sound effects can go as far as voice lines. They essentially take whatever the music is doing and add even more depth or life to it. When restoring a soul in Hollow Knight, that sense of relief washes over you when the health bar is finally increased, once that last little ding plays plays. There are absolutely too many of these to count in Hollow Knight, from the noise that plays when you save, to the teensy little ding of your sword on a shielded enemy, or blocked wall. So I'll briefly go over my favorite of the bunch instead, the vocals. All of the voice lines / vocals of the monsters encountered around Hollow Nest never fail to creep me out. You can just tell that most everything in this world is fallen, or hollow. Take this guy from Deep Nest. He attacks you 3 different times. Each time there's an unearthly sound that comes out of it. Different. And I never want to see this guy again in my life. The hum of Cornifer, the mapmaker, still displaying a sign of interest in this dark and dreary world. The Dung Defender's boisterous shouts as he chucks piles of, well, at you. Such a small part of the sound design, you might be asking, how does this even connect to the music? Now cool it, hold on, I'll tell you. Walking around the world of Hollow Knight is not only about hearing the music, but also about the people and the creatures, and your steps of your little tiny feet on the ground. Without the quaint voice lines from the people of Dirtmouth, the town would feel so much more empty than it should be. Sure, it is a dead town, but that doesn't mean people can't still cling to life in it. With these voice lines on top of the music inside of Dirtmouth, you really get the sense of this is a dead town. But there is still an ecosystem within it of people that refused to leave, that are still clinging to this life inside of this town. Without these voice lines and vocals, the music would breed a sense of loneliness rather than a fading town. And I don't think that the designers of Hollow Knight were going for that. If the music is the ecosystem and atmosphere of Hollow Knight, then the vocals of the creatures around are the showcase of relationship between each NPC, each monster, each boss, and you. After all, you are the one who's supposed to put an end to this depression. Some will be hopeful of this, and others resentful towards you. Most have probably noticed by now that I have constantly been using the words connected, ecosystem, atmosphere throughout this entire video. No, I did not run out of descriptions. It was all a ploy. These are things that I typically play games for. Aside from good gameplay, a video game must have an overarching history to its world. A history that I can feel and hear whilst playing through it. Hollow Knight succeeds in all of these in every aspect, but the music is what allows the world to breathe and live. It allows it to show the nature of this dark place called Hollow Nest. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I absolutely loved playing through this game. While I was creating the script for this video, I had the opportunity to play through some of Hollow Knight again. I do not miss some of these annoying little creatures. Like this little flying guy. He doesn't even drop anything. Also, I hope you've learned something about the sound design of this video game. Feel free to let me know if I've missed anything, or if you just want to rant about a video game, because my ears are always open.